What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of In the Wild. I'm Rayshawn, and today we have a really cool episode because we're talking a little bit about just independence. And as our college students are here, and as you continue to grow and mature, you're going to experience more independence. And I thought it would be cool because I was thinking just about my time as a student at Augusta University. And for those that don't know or forgot, I'm a first-gen college graduate and, well, two-time college graduate because I'm always going to remind y'all that I got my master's degree. And just during my undergrad years, there were so many things that I didn't know, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I was often embarrassed to ask people about the things that I realized I didn't know. And part of that was just really just taking care of myself, like not in, I guess, like at home type of sense, but more so of like, hey, how do I go about making my doctor's appointments, how to understand insurance and how that affects my care that I'm going to receive, and just all the things that just make up your well-being that you just need to be mindful of. Because at home, I have my mom and she helped guide me through all those things. But then when you go get on the college campus and you're away from home, that transition is real, and you don't think about those things like, oh, I should be probably making my own disappointments now that I don't live at home, and I shouldn't always wait to go home to do those things. So for this episode, we are going to talk to Morgan Davis and Dr. Shelley Larkin, who really prioritize student health and well-being. Dr. Larkin is the Director of Student Health Services, so I hope you guys take advantage of all the opportunities there. And Morgan is our Student Wellness Coordinator, which she's been on the show before to talk to us about JAGS Live Well and that initiative to really just take care of the entire well-being of yourself, all of our students here at Augusta University. So I'm excited to have this episode to talk to them, and hopefully you guys will have some great takeaways. So here we go. Welcome back, Morgan, and welcome, Dr. Larkin, on In the Wild. Excited to have you. Excited to have you back, Morgan. And I'll start with you. As Director of Student Health Services, could you kind of briefly go over your role and how it serves the student body here?
So overall, as Director of Student Health Services, we're looking at holistically providing mental and physical health care to our students here at undergraduate, graduate, health professional levels, so all throughout the student body.
And Morgan, I know you were here with us not too long ago, but do you mind kind of recapping about the role that you serve as Student Wellness Coordinator?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of what my role is to provide just events around different locations on campus where students are going to be heavily populated to talk about various topics within the 8 dimensions of wellness that we hold within JAGS Live Well, as well as providing opportunities for campus and community partners like Student Health to come out to our events to get them to be a little bit more student-facing in that, hey, here's who we are, here's what we have for you. So just trying to find opportunities for students to learn about those various topics, but then also to learn about what is here to kind of help them grow in their well-being.
And before we go into the theme of today's episode, I'm kind of curious to hear from each of you, how did you kind of get into the work that you do? Because working with students is a very unique opportunity. So I'm curious did you all grow up wanting to be in the role that you currently have, or how did that come to be?
So for me, it was just a progression through my career. So first started off taking care of patients, and then just progressing into leadership, and then really getting into the college health aspect of things. Been here almost 5 years now. So in saying that, it has been a transition from private into higher ed, and it's always been in me to serve. So that's what we do, is serve. And being able to take care of them at this time in their life and showing them what is preventative and proactively taking care of themselves for the longevity of their life is really, really important to me.
Yeah, I tell students that all the time, that, I wish when I was in undergrad that I took advantage of everything that was available to me. But I think kind of going into my path to get into higher education, I'm kind of one of those people who, I've never really known what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try different things and see what I like. But I grew up an athlete, so I was always kind of interested in the body and just how human health works, and started off into going into the personal training industry right out of undergrad. And I just really found there was my passion to help other people. And I think really what is the most challenging part when it comes to working on well-being is there's so much noise out there. You hear every day, this is better for you than this, don't do this instead. And even for us, I think sometimes we're like, okay, we've got to figure out what is maybe the best direction. And there really isn't always the best direction, just like point blank. It's going to depend on the person. So I think kind of going through that learning in personal training got me to want to just kind of find a little bit more of an in-depth way, I guess, to kind of help serve others, kind of similar to Dr. Larkin. I do enjoy serving others. And I think recognizing the importance of starting good habits at a younger age is just really key to helping to where, once you graduate from your college or what it may be, you feel prepared to be able to handle the stresses that life brings.
And you brought up a good point, because I'm curious as to how you do work with students when they are coming to you and they say like, oh, I saw this on TikTok, or I saw, these content creators, or this is a new trend. Like, how do you, advise in those type of situations? Because you're right. And for the most part, you are going to have to find out what works for you individually, not just following any trend that just, seems to work and be popular.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes in with thinking to kind of some concepts of like motivational interviewing and things like that, because I'm a board certified health and wellness coach as well. So in coaching, a lot of the times when working with clients, the goal is to respect their individual choice. And so when you're kind of hearing people come to you with following some trends, first kind of recognizing what is the level of risk to their overall well-being with following whatever it may be. But also then just asking some questions to kind of just feel out, like, how did they reach this conclusion? Just kind of figuring out what do they know versus what don't they know? And then kind of having the conversation of, if it is something dangerous, like, hey, just an FYI, here are some of the risks that I've heard about. And then kind of trying to tailor the conversation to some ways that are a little bit more doable based on, their individual lifestyle. That's kind of my approach. I'm sure y'all probably see it a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as well, like, how do you handle...
So I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. So it does happen to us a lot because there is so much out there. And Google MD is wonderful, I understand. But when they come in to see us, it depends on where they're at. And this is how I lead, is just meet them where they're at and understand really what they're coming in for. Because what they may be presenting for, it might not be the underlying cause of really what's going on. So the interview and those questions that we ask actually takes them a little step further when we're looking at their overall health and what is impacting them at this moment. Yes, there are multiple diagnoses out there, but we're really looking at showing them the symptoms that they're having. Then we walk through the objective signs of what we're seeing and walk them through that treatment plan. And we can actually show them evidence-based practice and standards of what really is going on. And then meeting them where they're at in the medication, if that's the treatment plan, or is it counseling, or is it just follow up with PT, whatever that is. And are they able to do it? And do they understand all of that? So one of the big things with College Health is being able to educate. And I think that's why I love it as much too, is because I'm an educator and I get to serve them in all of this capacity. So educating them on what they think they know versus what they might not know, and being able to walk them through to a positive outcome.
So what would you say are some of just, and I guess from both of your perspectives, like just some common concerns that you deal with just, I guess, the most with our students? So
coming from us, in our clinic, we are an outpatient medical clinic, so we have acute and chronic presentations. So acutely, you are going to see us manage the respiratory. You're going to see us manage stomach aches and headaches and all that primary care, but you're also going to see us manage the continuity of chronic illnesses like asthma, like diabetes. So that's what we really want to focus on when we look at our students, because they're coming into us with multiple different things, so we want to be able to take care of that as they transition in and then move them through until they graduate. So for us, it's a presentation mixed, acute and chronic, of what we can do. We triage, so when they come into us, we triage and kind of see what's going on and then what pathway is best for them, whether it's physical or mental, of what's going on.
I think kind of for me, just thinking along the lines of some of the conversations that we'll have during tabling events and stuff is just, what you kind of just see as the semester progresses on. Burnout, imposter syndrome, kind of sometimes students just struggling with maybe having really negative self-talk, especially when they are facing some challenges in the semester. So I do a lot of workshops with classes and student organizations talking about resiliency, talking about that inner dialogue, and trying to really get them to just like sit there and be like, okay, well, how can I reframe my thinking to help me kind of push through in whatever situation they're facing? And that also even just comes in with having them recognize, like, in whatever is presenting as a challenge in my life right now, what can I control and what can I not control? And then working on what you can control, kind of to give you a starting point to kind of work through whatever that issue may be. I think also, too, is trying to get students to just think about how we can take really small, actionable steps that will benefit their well-being long-term. You know, like trying to kind of have some digital detox time here and there, you know, staying off social media and going outside for a minute and just enjoying nature and being more present. Recognizing that, you know, a lot of the studies and research that's coming out now about just how there are so many things that we can do to just improve our well-being in a very, very small way. I think it's just really important to kind of continue that conversation on with students.
Do you find it difficult to teach folks about self-care at all? Especially with the traditional age range of a college student? Like, I guess how do you present that to them? Like, hey, you're getting to a chapter in life where you're starting to experience more independence, especially when it comes to your health and well-being. Like, I guess how do you start to teach someone that when they may not have thought about that before because they've always had their parents or a caregiver to take care of that stuff for them?
So for us, they're accessing us. So that's the number one key, is they're accessing us. So we look at what they're presenting for, but then that opens up the door for us to really start those conversations. They're making appointments by themselves now. They're accessing us with their insurance cards by themselves now. They're having to go pick up medicine by themselves now. So these are all teaching points. That's why college health is such a specialty. And all our providers are well versed in that, being able to take that time and give them that education experience, and then the continuity come back with questions and follow up. So I think that's key for us, is when they access us, we have that time and ability to educate them and start that transition, and then start asking the questions about sleep, start asking the questions about home medications just for a headache. So it's opening up that conversation and making them feel safe in that place to advocate for themselves.
I think it's something too where, you know, sometimes maybe students don't recognize that they are lacking in self-care. You know, I think a lot of the times there can be just that attitude of like, well, just this is just how it is and I just have to push through, and just kind of taking it for what it is instead of, again, kind of seeing what you can control in the situation and go from there. So I think it just kind of comes with having that conversation of, you know, one, helping them recognize that what you're dealing with is challenging, not just brush it off and be like, yeah, okay, but it's fine, I did it. But being like, okay, no, that was hard, and that can have some impacts to your emotional well-being. So then having that conversation too of trying to work through kind of the stigma that like self-care is selfish, and also getting them to recognize how broad self-care actually is. It doesn't have to be those stereotypical things of like doing a face mask, taking a bath, you know, whatever. But even just making a good, nutritious meal, that is self-care. So I think kind of just helping to get the students to see how general it can be, and saying that like, okay, well, this is self-care, even if it is just some of those simple, healthy habits.
And we'll piggyback as well in saying that sometimes they don't associate the physical symptoms that they're having with some of the anxiety and stress and that they're experiencing with academic challenges. This is rigorous courses they're in. This is so we understand that, but putting those together and saying, but your lack of sleep is causing this. And let's address really what the primary problem is, and showing them even taking a walk, even eating something without the phone for a moment will make a big difference if they can just start those small steps. So it's making the association as well that self-care can improve multiple things, not being selfish.
Yeah, and that's why JAGS Live Well is the holistic wellness initiative, because the 8 dimensions that we do have, there is just recognizing the intersectionality of those things, and how, you know, having some struggles in one area can then result in other things in other areas. And then even by, it kind of is just like a constant loop, because then it can just kind of feed back into the other thing too, or even leak into other areas of your life as well. So I think that is kind of a lot of the conversation that we're trying to have with students too, is to get them to recognize how it really is all connected, so that they can kind of start to see maybe when they are struggling in some of these different dimensions, like, okay, well, let me take care of that because I don't want it to snowball into whatever could come next.
Yeah, that makes me think of like during my undergrad years when I realized like when I'm really stressed out, feeling overwhelmed and anxious, like I have the worst stomach pain.
Yep.
And at first, because that was my first time experiencing so much stress at once, like I didn't know that, oh, it's just because I'm so stressed out. And you need to take a break and you just need to take care of yourself and then your stomach will calm down. But yeah, you're right. When you made that point of like, yeah, it does affect, or certain mental things can affect every part of you.
Absolutely.
And you have to make that connection to kind of actually solve the problem.
But it's new for them,
Yeah.
especially coming into our
It was
university.
definitely new for me.
Right. So, and it's a lot different managing it all by yourself in a different environment as well.
Yeah, because that kind of brings me to my next point of, like, for a lot of folks, especially for me, because I grew up in rural Georgia, and I did not have any sort of like continuous relationship with like a primary care person. Like we're one of those counties in Georgia that didn't have a primary care person. Like we always had to outsource. So for me, it was definitely a learning curve of like, oh, there's annual checkups. Like that's oh, that's a thing. Like people do that. Or oh, insurance. Like I just did not grow up constantly doing that. So when I first experienced this type of taking care of myself, like those were just like questions of like, I've never thought of this before. So do y'all mind like kind of walking through, I guess, what a typical person may want to consider of like, hey, here's annual, like to think of annual checkups and insurance and just taking care of yourself one-on-one, I guess.
So I think they address that, especially for new students coming in, and it is part of the JAGS Live Well when we look at those 8 dimensions. They haven't had to think about these things sometimes, and they may not have had those interactions, but knowing the resources, I think, is the key to start with, and knowing that we're there. So usually they're going to access not for a well visit. They're going to access us for a sick visit in some way, but then showing them from there, hey, we're going to follow up, and these are the actions you can take at 19, at 24, at 28 to take care of yourself. And we do have guidelines for those annual exams and what is really recommended to take care of yourself. So I think that's the first start. You do not have to have insurance in some of our student populations. And that's why we have student health, is because those resources are there that are financially based so that we can offer services they may not have ever had. They may have not ever had a strep screen for a sore throat, but this is their introduction into that and explaining why we do this. So I think it's knowing the resources to answer some of that and take away some of their concerns, and then knowing where to get them to maybe access some of those. Insurance may not be on a top priority for them, but when we look at prescribing medications, it does come into play. So we want to find the cheapest route we can based on that person. And again, it comes back to that individual approach, meeting them where they're at and how we can best serve them one-on-one. It's not a one-all for everybody. So that's one of the things, is just trying to access, and we do have patients that we need to work through some of those resources, and we take the time to do that. That's what this college and university offers. That's what college health offers, is to be able to do those things for this student population.
I think, too, it's also just recognizing how much we all talk to each other.
Yes.
In all of the different offices on campus, especially within the Division of Enrollment and Student Affairs. And I think it comes to with the mindset, kind of like Dr. Larkin was saying, with a sick visit versus a well visit. If students are only seeing student health as a place to go when I'm sick, then they're that's where we're missing the mark a little bit. Because I think a lot of the students too sometimes can have the mindset of like, well, I've already seen them twice this semester. Like, I don't want to keep going back and keep bothering them. That is what we're here to do. And so I think it's ensuring that the students understand that message so that we, can help educate in the areas that maybe just are lacking, and then kind of help them walk alongside their wellness journey as they kind of continue to grow just in the literacy of the various areas.
I think a lot of our outreach is focused on that as well. So, all this that she does with her programming, I think that outreach is focused on that culture of wellness that we're looking for. So the more we introduce that information out, the more we show them, I think that makes a difference as well.
And what would you guys say, just shifting gears a little bit, is probably the most rewarding part of your job, because you're literally helping students live their best lives. So I'm kind of curious to hear if there's any particular part that you enjoy the most.
I think for me, it's just being able to be at different tabling events and seeing familiar faces of students. You know, if they see our wellness hut that's put up around campus and they're like, oh, it's Jags of Well, let's go see them, see what they've got going on today. Having that connection with students is always really great. But I think what I enjoy most, aside from getting to interact with students at our events, is having my peer educators with me. You know, getting to see the growth that they experience just from doing the work that we do, and just by them increasing their own level of knowledge of what holistic well-being is, then they just naturally kind of start seeing a heightened level of well-being. And I think that that's really cool to kind of just watch that progression happen just by providing a student employment opportunity and fostering a good relationship with them to help, you know, provide whatever advice I can to them as someone who was in their shoes not too long ago, and sharing some of the things that maybe I wish I would have known then that I had to kind of learn a little bit later. So I think that that's kind of what I really enjoy too, is getting to kind of have that good dynamic with my student employees that I have, because we have a good time, we put on some fun events, but really getting to see kind of their own growth in their mindset is really cool too.
Is there any particular event that you've put on, especially recently, that you really enjoyed or loved?
Gosh, I want to say in the past 2 years, we've done some pretty intense programming with our health and wellness fair that we have in the fall. That's a collaboration between our two offices. We hit a record last year of over 35 organizations there between, between campus and community partners. So I think that was really exciting to be able to kind of see the growth in the stakeholders that we have in that event. And, you know, it's getting to the point now where they expect that event's happening in the fall. Where we get emails from partners. They're like, hey, are y'all still doing this? We're like, yep, we are. You'll be hearing from us, you know, soon. We're starting to kind of plan that now. Yeah. But also too, I have done a lot of work with our Wellness Wednesdays in April to recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And that, again, brings student health services out. But it also is in collaboration with our Title IX office, Safe Homes Domestic Violence Center, our Sexual Assault Response Center here in the local community, as well as, you know, having SCAPs and other campus organizations there too, but really just to have students be aware of the topic that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and providing them with some statistics and resources that they know are just there and available to them. So I feel like those events have gone really well the past 2 years too. So those are, for me, what I really enjoyed.
What about you?
So event-wise, she spoke of it because we do these in collaboration so much. And I think for me, one of the things I enjoy the most is serving the students and seeing them thrive, which is what we want. And then also, I really respect the team that we have. We can reach out across, she mentioned it, we can reach out across campus. There's no question that we can't reach out. If I don't know it, we can reach out and say, hey, I've got a student. I'm stuck right here. Can you help me? Everybody is invested and engaged in that. And I think for me, that is huge. And it matters to me that they can pick up the phone and call me and say the same thing. I've got something. Can you walk me through it? Absolutely. That's what we're here for, is to serve the students, but we're serving each other too. And I think being a part of that team is so crucial and for me, very rewarding.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, you probably wouldn't expect us to be in a meeting with the Academic Success Center, but we are. We're having conversations of how we can just help improve our students' just access to information and resources. And it really is such a team effort where you can reach out whatever the request is, even if maybe the office doesn't have the bandwidth at that moment. They're going to be like, I can't do this right now, but I know someone who can. And they will connect you with whoever it can be to kind of help support you in wherever you're kind of trying to go.
I love hearing how connected and collaborative that you guys are, because obviously it's going to have a great impact on our students, seeing that from every aspect that they're looping y'all in, especially when they're like, yeah, I don't know, but I know the folks that can help us figure that out.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm enjoying the conversation so far, and for those watching, stay tuned because we'll be right back.
Meet Augustus, Augusta University's chatbot designed to make your life easier. With Augustus, you can get instant answers to all your questions 24/7 right at your fingertips. Wondering where to refuel between classes? Just ask Augustus about dining options at our campuses. Feeling FOMO? Never miss out on an exciting campus event again. Augustus keeps you in the loop of all the must-attend happenings. Need a lift? No worries. Augustus can help you find shuttle schedules and routes so you can breeze through campus without breaking a sweat. Questions about tuition payments? Don't stress. Augustus can help you with financial aid and payment options, ensuring you stay on track without the headache. Feeling overwhelmed? Remember, your wellness matters. Reach out to Augustus for support and resources on maintaining your mental and physical health during your time at AU. Download Jack Mobile and start chatting today.
Welcome back, you guys. So we left off with one of your most rewarding parts of your jobs, but I kind of wanted to, I guess, go back a little bit further to talk a little bit about some of the common challenges that students may experience having this type of independence away from home, away from like their caregivers, like I mentioned before. Like, what are some of the things that you think they may see just outside of maybe having just a sick visit, but just outside of that might affect their well-being?
I think that, it's kind of hard to pinpoint some of the common challenges because everyone's experience is so unique and students are coming in with such different levels of either knowledge or experience in different areas. So for some students, it may be the first time that they're facing this type of a challenge. But with other students, they're like, okay, I've done something similar to this before. Here's what I did last time. Let me see if I can kind of apply that now. But I think it does just come with kind of those fresh experiences where, a lot of the times maybe you would call a caregiver in that moment, but you usually don't have the opportunity to, or that connection just is no longer there. And so I think it's trying to establish kind of what are those new connections to kind of help support you in your well-being. And I think that even comes to recognizing that, we understand that students are likely to turn to their peers before kind of coming to see student health or anything along those lines. And so I think kind of going back to what Dr. Larkin was mentioning was having students be aware of the resources so that then peers can support peers and say, hey, I've been to student health before. Here's how they've helped me and, whatnot. I know you did mention more so in a well visit versus a sick visit, but I think it does just come with the little obstacles and humps that kind of can come in the way of the student experience. And I think it is more so just helping students kind of recognize that the first challenge you face is not the end-all be-all. It does not mean that I can't do this and I need to quit and give up, but kind of helping students to see a little bit more in that gray versus black and white type of a thing of, okay, this is hard, this is a challenge, but what's available to me that can kind of help me here? And so I think it just kind of comes with having those conversations within my office, trying to reach out with students or even just with whoever they are getting connected with. Even us as faculty and staff members know what's out there to support the students as well.
And I think that's all part of the challenges is what are the resources and accessing them. And then it comes to developing that community for those resources that she's saying. Their peers are much more influential than us until they get to us especially. So that community that we're trying to build those communities around every single student. And I think that's what's impactful. The challenges are really not knowing how to access all the services we do have. You will still have students who tell us, I had no idea that existed. But with them coming into us, whatever the visit may be, we're able to show them a vast majority of different resources and open up that they'll take it back to their friends. They'll take it back to their communities, to their housing. So there are challenges. There are food insecurities. There are transportation. They're financial. We have those challenges every day that we see. So how can we work through those with that student? Absolutely. On an individual basis every single day. And no student, no experience is cookie cutter. It's validating what they're experiencing. So that's what we see a lot is the stress that the students go through, validating that. We absolutely know this is hard, but we want to walk you through it. And don't wait until the end of the semester when you're failing and can't get those resources. Access them early. Talk to your friends. Don't be scared to start the conversations. And that comes back to some of the stigma, breaking down whatever that barrier is, breaking it down and letting people talk and know it's okay to ask questions and to be concerned about someone or be concerned about yourself. I think those are the challenges we face with trying to break those down.
Yeah, for me, because I was first gen, I was so intimidated to ask questions and to admit that I didn't know anything because I was around a lot of people who weren't first gen. So they were just like, oh, yeah, this is when you're supposed to register for classes and do this and do that. And for me, I'm like, and do what? And okay, I'm making mental notes of all of this stuff and some stuff, actually writing down like, okay, no, this is actually good information. So for students who may not develop a strong like confidence yet into reaching out for help or asking, how do you, or what would you recommend for them to kind of figure out when they need to seek help? Like, what are some indicators of like, hey, I might need to rely on some of these resources, or should talk to someone, whether it's a peer or a professional, to kind of help me guide whatever I'm going through?
I think up front is you make me think about the mentorship and Jags for Jags and getting them involved in that and really getting our students involved in one way or another, whether it's through the rec center and just getting them actively engaged in that. That might be what they enjoy and need. It might be a student organization. It might, but that makes me think of that to start with, because that's how they build and understand that what they need. But I also, again, think that we have to build that community of being able to talk about and ask the questions and not feel like it's not allowed or it's a silly or bad question. You just don't know. That's what we're here for. So it's making us aware as well of how we present and that we're talking to the students and getting it out there. So it's making them comfortable enough to access the resources.
Yeah, I think that kind of also comes in almost like a mindset shift around the idea of like failure in a sense.
Yeah.
Because I think, if students are feeling like maybe they aren't excelling in certain areas and going to see someone for help makes them a failure because they couldn't do it themselves, recognizing that that is absolutely not true. And I think it kind of makes me think about a joke that we have a lot in our family. At the different stages that you're at in life, when you are like young and you're in middle school and you are like seeing your high school babysitter or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, they like have their lives together so much. And
Right.
same thing like in high school to college, you're like, they know exactly what they're doing. Even me as a young professional, when I was in undergrad, seeing people full-time in their roles that I knew, I was like, oh my gosh, like they have an adult job. Like that's crazy. But I'll talk to my parents now and they're like, Morgan, we still don't know what we're doing, So I think it's just understanding that we all just kind of don't know what's going on. We're all just kind of trying to figure it out. And recognizing that just because you don't know the answer, it's not that, our goal is not to sit there and say, I don't know either, good luck. But we'll say, I don't know, but let me go find an answer for you, kind of a thing. And so I think it's important to kind of keep that mindset of, just because you don't get the answer on the first try doesn't mean that you can't get it on the next try, and to just kind of keep persisting through. And also, I think, giving yourself a little pat on the back when you do take whatever that small step is that's comfortable for you and being like, okay, I did it, cool. Even if that is just asking a very simple question, like at the beginning of a semester on campus, hey, where's this building? Something along those lines. Whereas then the following semester, you may be on campus, you may have a student coming near you and they're like, hey, where's this building? And you're like, I know exactly where that is because I have asked that question before too. So I think it's just kind of working with yourself where you feel most comfortable, and knowing that, if it doesn't work out the first time, just kind of keep pushing through and keep trying because you will get that success at some point.
And I think I take ownership in getting out there and letting them know it's okay. Like we go to orientations and we're letting them know, you have a question? Nothing. No crazy questions. Bring it to us so we can help. And what your question, you're thinking it, someone else is thinking it. So let us help everyone. So I think it's us getting out there as well and being able to explain to the students, we know that you might fail a test. I failed a test. I tell them that. It's okay. And now I'm making money and I'm here and I'm taking care of you. It's okay. It's going to happen. This is some of the things we're going to face in life, but we can help you through these. And I think that's part of getting us out there. And that's one of the things in student affairs. We really are so big on getting out there, letting them know the resources, knowing our faces and understanding who we are as well and that we're approachable. So I think that's what the university is about too. So that's big for me.
Yeah, I think it's even too recognizing from a student perspective, we're relying on them a lot of the times too. We want to know from them what are the concerns that they're facing, because if we're just sitting here making assumptions based on, trends in the past or even just what we expect or assume they should be dealing with right now, we could be missing the mark big time on providing proper education that's going to relate to what they're experiencing. And also recognizing too that, even though we may have these titles and things like that, that means absolutely nothing. And, knowing that, we do rely on the students to kind of help us in our work to make sure that we are servicing them in the best way possible, because that is our ultimate goal.
Yeah, that makes me think of a lot of my student experiences of just still, once again, kind of being afraid to ask for help and taking advantage of all the resources. And so I'm also curious to hear from y'all, what are just some of the resources that are readily available to students, as soon as they step foot on campus, that they may have forgotten about at this point in time, that y'all could help them out with?
I think what first comes to mind for me is just some of the resources that we have available through the university system, which is Headspace, a mindfulness and meditation app. Students get their membership completely free. They have to use our unique AU link, but it's super easy to find. It's on our social media, it's on our website, it's on everyone's websites. Yeah. And also a newer one that's come out for us more recently is called You Will, and it's 24/7 telehealth therapy.
Oh, wow.
And so students can call a number at any point in time, because our counseling office, they're open 8 to 5 with some extended hours sometimes here and there. But being able to have that 24/7, hey, it's a Friday night at midnight, I'm freaking out about, something I have going on this weekend. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. We have resources for you there. But also too, resources that are readily available, all of them, I would say. You just got to call the number and make the appointment. And the sooner in the semester you do it, the better, of course, because then wait times kind of build up, especially with SCAPs. But I feel like for y'all as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can walk in. You can walk in. And we're having some extended hours. Once the classes start, we do have extended hours on Mondays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that we can service based on their schedules and what they need. Again, we're trying to listen to our students and what they need, and we want to meet them where they're at. And I think under this wellness umbrella, when you're asking about resources, first and foremost, student health, student counseling, wellness is out there every single day. But the rec center's there, okay?
Yeah.
JSAC's here, but academic support, the food pantry, okay? That is huge, and understanding that as well. But I think even small things, like if they're in housing, knowing that they have the RAs there and they have access to that. So all of those, to me, surround them. And again, the You Will after hours, we do service that. We want to make sure they understand that you can call this 24/7, but it's there for you on the weekends. We try to make our websites to where they can get there at 2 in the morning if they need something and understand where to go and what to do. So we try to give step by step. So some of it's instructions that we're all providing, some of it's physical locations, some of it's telehealth and that we can provide.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why we are kind of honing in on the importance of getting that communication out as soon as we can and getting the students aware of it early on, because then if there is a time when there is panic or crisis, information, if it's not known, is not going to be like, let me just go see what's available to me. Like, it's going to be like, no, I need something right now. And if you don't have that prior information from us, or just from however you are receiving your communications about campus offerings, then, you're kind of missing out if you don't have that early understanding of what's there for you too.
Do y'all ever hear back from students about the positive impact that you're making on their lives?
I mean, I am able to every now and then, is just depending on feedback. I mean, we do a patient satisfaction survey as well, and so we do hear a lot of good things because access is big. So them understanding that sometimes they're thinking that they're going to wait 6 to 8 weeks for an appointment. No, that you call, we're going to get you in based on what you need. But it's been, for me, being able to see our students through the 4 years, and me being able to take care of someone through those 4 years, and then at the end, thank you so much. You have been so wonderful taking care of me for these last 4 years, and I really appreciate all you've done. Those small things make a difference, especially to providers when they're day in and day out, and so those small feedbacks make a huge difference as well. So yes, we do hear that feedback at times. Now, do we hear negative feedback? We absolutely do. But the positive feedback is what matters, and it does impact their lives. So I think that's how we know is.
Yeah.
But you don't always get that. But it's seeing somebody later and seeing them at their event. They've seen us, seeing them at their event and say, hey, how are you doing? But again, it's opening up the conversation and being approachable too.
Yeah, I think I'll kind of hear it more so at some of our events, and it's not particularly about the event that's happening that day, but more so like, hey, you told me about Headspace. I've been using it for the past few months. It's helped my anxiety so much. Thank you. Or, hey, you came and presented to my class. I really loved you said XYZ about whatever the topic was again. So I think it is just kind of those little touch points that I sometimes get just from being a familiar face to them based on whatever our interaction was. And so those are really moments that do make me feel good. And it's like that's the motivation to keep continuing what we do because it is recognizing that, maybe sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but we are making an impact and that ultimately, yeah, like I said, that is our goal. And so those are just those small moments, those small things that I really do cherish and enjoy.
And sometimes they'll pull you to the side and they'll just ask questions afterwards, after they've seen us or done something different. That's rewarding as well. Absolutely. Let us help you. So
if you had to give any advice to a student who has not taken advantage of any of your resources before, what would you tell them?
I say a lot in one of my presentations, kind of imagining that your body is like a soda bottle. And as kind of challenges and things come along the way, it's like you're shaking up a soda bottle. So what's going to happen? That carbonation kind of builds up. And so, some things that present are going to shake you up a little bit more than others. But if we're not doing what we know we need to do to kind of settle some of that fizz, it can be the smallest little thing that makes that top explode and kind of come off. So I kind of like using that image to, I guess, hit home on how important it is to recognize what is going to help me throughout the entirety of my experience as a student or even in life, and implementing those habits soon. So I think that would just kind of be my advice, to think of your body as a soda bottle and know that, there are some things out there that will settle your fizz and only you know what those are, but also to kind of explore what really are those things that do help, and implement them consistently and constantly, so that you continue to just kind of experience those benefits that come with those habits.
I definitely can't follow a soda bottle fizz. There is no way I could follow that. So in complete agreement.
Well, thank you guys so much for first coming to talk to me today, but also for all the work that you do to keep our students happy, healthy, and just living their best lives.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Thanks for the invite.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I always love talking to those folks on campus that help take care of our students, and Dr. Larkin and Morgan do such a great job. I hope you have seen them at any of the events that they have done this semester, and if you haven't, it's okay. There's always next semester, so feel free to take advantage of all of those resources that they mentioned, and I hope you find time to take care of yourself. I hope you find time to help others who you may think could benefit from some of the information that we discussed today. And if you like this episode, I want you guys to like, subscribe, do all those things, of course. But I also want you guys to tell me what resources on campus have benefited you the most to help take care of yourself. Is it Headspace? Is it student health? Is it something else? Is it just talking to your peers, your friends? I'm kind of curious to hear what you guys have to say. So let me know all those things on our Instagram at InTheWildPod. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Go Jags!